So what's your name?
My name is Gerald Parsons. Why?
When were you born?
1910, 11th day of April.
Well, how do you know that?
I've got a birth certificate, of course.
But you don't have any living witnesses, right?
No. Oh, let's see. No, I don't guess I have.
How many brothers and sisters did you have?
I had 5 sisters and 5 brothers.
5 brothers and 6 sisters?
Let's see, Polly and Ruth, Ellen, Ethel, and Edith. How many's I make? Pauline, Ellen, Edith, and with one more, 6 sisters.
It's a big family.
11. So was me. 4 brothers.
Well, what's the earliest memory you have of the family?
Well, remember I had him as Earl when he was World War I. When
Earl, was that a brother or was that
my brother, oldest brother.
he was in World War One?
Yeah. In the 6th Regiment, Marine Corps.
What do you remember him coming home or just that he
No, I
went?
remember when he left. He didn't come home, killed
Hmm.
in the Belleau Woods in France or Germany. One of those two.
Well, what was it like growing up? Where'd you live?
I lived in St. George, West Virginia. Cheap river, fabulous place to fish. Man, you could catch anything. We'd get the crawdads out of the creek and minnows. And man, you could just cast out most any time, and a bass would hit it or some kind of a fish would hit it. Great Northern or walleye pike. They had them all, and we had them all. They had the black bass and the yellow bass. I'm out of range of that thing with this.
You hunt too?
Oh yeah, every on Thanksgiving or Christmas it all turn out and kill a turkey. One of us would get a turkey, maybe 2.
And that's what you'd eat for Thanksgiving?
Yeah, for Christmas too we kill at Christmas time. Wild turkeys. That's when the chestnuts, it gets so fat they couldn't hardly fly. That's no kidding. They couldn't get off the ground, right? If they'd be eating up beech nuts, that's what for it. They cut all the timber out. And that was before, during the Depression, they closed up their mines. They were supposed to close the rip mine in front of it, so the water wouldn't get out. And had sulfur in the water, killed all the fish, killed the oxygen, killed everything.
Was it come back?
Well, it didn't while I was there.
What do you remember about your father?
Oh, it was all right, but he sure made you walk not straight and narrow. He never drank. He smoked a pipe, a corn cob pipe. But go coon hunting, we always took an extra long. He loses he'd always had in his mouth, he's trying to get the dogs off the coon. He'd lose his pipe and the leaves, and sometimes we couldn't find it. So we just carried an extra. It cost 5 or 10 cents a piece.
Why, was he hard to live with without his pipe?
Yeah, he was.
Well, why don't you tell a story about when you were hunting one time, you slept in the leaves.
Hmm?
Didn't you have a story about hunting one time and you slept amongst all these leaves? It had to do with your father's pipe? Or was it somebody else's pipe?
Oh, we built up a fire. We had a coon tree, we couldn't see him. There's an old oak that had lost its leaves. And all in the night, it must have been a cold to get out. It set my brother's pile of leaves on fire. And he woke up, he was jumping all over the place, putting out his clothes. He accused me of setting fire to his bed. I didn't do it. Honest, I didn't. That damn coal must have got in there dry legs. Oh, we used to stay out all night coon hunting. That was a day, though. You killed 20 squirrels if you wanted to a day. And fox and gray squirrel. Pheasants, ruffle grouse. Ringnecks come later.
What do you remember about your mother?
Well, she was just like all mothers, so she worried herself over everybody, trying to, she had, I know how she did it, but she never maintained it. Her dad wasn't either, was that?
You have some aunts and uncles. You remember your grandfather?
Oh, yeah, I remember Grandfather Lipscomb at Parsons. Grandpa Lipscomb was about 90-some years old, 96, I think, when he died. He finally got bedridden. He only lived about 6 months. He used to keep bees. The only thing that make him sore at you, we throw a rock at his beehive, or his beehive, that would make him mad. It was to stir up the bees, and they all come out. But he didn't mind, and it didn't seem to sting him too much. But Grandpa Parsons, my dog treated about a half a mile, a little better, in a tree. And the dog stayed there, and I went up and got him. And he walked all the way down there and shot it out at the top of the tree when he was real old.
You can still shoot, huh?
Yeah, still shoots. He killed 31 deer in one season. Grandfather Parsons did, to feed the family.
Yeah. Well, what was the major enterprise? Were you farmers or?
Farmers.
Yeah. What'd you raise?
Oh, everything. Corn, wheat, anything you want to raise. You had a short season, oats, potatoes.
Did you have any?
The river bottom, we were on the river. And it flooded. The parts we growed corn in would flood every year, leave about 4 or 5 inches of silt on it. You know, it's rich.
You have any animals?
Horses and cows and chickens, just about like farmers, hogs, pigs. Oh yeah, all kinds of animals. We always had a couple of coon dogs. We had a pet coon once. Fred was the only one could, had him on got a change. Fred's the only one could take him any place.
There's a raccoon?
Yeah, he'd bite the others. He'd bite us. He used to have him on the chain of the wire like what a dog. And we used to go down the creek and had a big bowl like that. And we put the crabs in there and he'd go like that and the pinchers would fly out and then he'd eat them.
Hmm.
That, yeah, you just rub them between his paws like that.
Yeah.
One time my coon, we penned him up, was going to be gone for a day. We penned him up at the granary. I had a keg of honey in there. He worked that stopper loose, and he had his paw in there soaking while he licked the other one. It was sure like that. He was big as round as a keg.
But did you have a pet or a dog yourself? Or was
And
your-
yeah, I had a little dog called him, a coon dog.
How'd you end up with him?
Well, Mark Barr and I were sitting on Creek Bridge, the railing there, and we were sitting on the railing. And here comes this dog along, pup, wasn't very old. Why, he said, "That's your uncle's dog, isn't it?" He looked exactly like half Airedale that they had, but he wasn't Airedale. So I took him home. And from that time on, he stayed there. I never fed him up or nothing. Never trained him to hunt.
You work out pretty good?
Yeah, he was good.
Well, what were your chores at the house? What were you supposed to do on the farm?
Whole corn and make hay. Dad would stack it, we'd pitch it up to him. And in the barn, we always filled the barn, and had a silo, we'd fill that full of water, corn, for the cows to eat in the wintertime. We had everything to do on the farm. Yeah, everything.
Well, what's one of the funny tales you can think of that happened? Something that tickled you?
Oh, this Bert Dumar, he lived about a half a mile from town, about a mile. And he had to pass the graveyard, and the graveyard was on a hill like that. So Frank Folks, his dad, got him down store, sold, he had these clothes dummies, you know, they put clothes on the advertising. We took a screen door, one of the screen door, where you hook the latch in, screwed it to the top of that wooden dummy. Then we got a white sheet put on him and took him up the graveyard behind this tombstone. So when you pull on him, you just go floating down over the fence. Old Bert come along and had him, and they said, "There comes Bert." You could hear his hobnails in the gravel road. And we pulled on that bar, and of course it was tied to another tree below. And here it comes. And Bert wanted one big yell at it. And that was it. He took off. You could hear him go around that curve and see in the dark, you could see sparks from my hobnails was hitting that gravel. He didn't come to town for a week. Till he found out what he did.
Talk about your first job.
It was the Catfish Lumber Company.
Catfish?
Catfish. Lumber Company on Big Sandy River. And Low Sandy. It was $4 a day and my board. And boy, I thought I was in heaven. I was in there about a year. I got board and room and everything. And I was in there about a year before I come out. I just left the money in the office and just they'd pay you up there if you just told them, you know, hold it in the office for you until you could quit or on vacation or something. Anyway, I'd about work 12 hours a day for $4 throughout the daylight and come in at dark in the wintertime.
$4 a day or?
$4 a day. Pretty good a week then. That was pretty good wages. And you got the board and room on top of that, you know. And By the end of, when I wanted to go out, I just go down the office and draw the money out, you know. And I bought a car, and I was going back to work. And the first trip back I made is wagon load, wagon rails. You had to have a wide place of yourself in the road where you could drive in and let anybody by. You couldn't get by, it was just a trail. And I was watching a log train get down the other side of the river. And I got too close to the side, and the side peeled off with me. Just crumbling off it. It was dirt road, you know.
Dirt road, yeah.
And I rolled down the hill about 4 or 5 times.
This is
And
the
I
first time you drove the car?
Oh, no, but that was the first time I ever drove down there,
Oh, back to work.
back to work. And anyway, it rolled over, I couldn't get away from it. Every time it was Hugh, roadster I meant, and those ribs, and it catch them unclosed and throw me under it again. And when finally landed on a level spot down there, I was underneath and it was on his wheels. And a little kid come running and said, "Hey, mister, you hurt?" I didn't know, but mad as hell, so I crawled out of there and looked it over. And so this old man that was on the farm there came out and said, "Well, I'll call you back up on the road." And he put had a tractor. And he put a pulley on me and pulled me back up the road. And away I went, all bent up, no top. As soon as I drove in the camp, they thought, "Jesus, look at that." I felt like it's about this big, you know. Then,
What was the job?
cutting timber.
Oh, that was your first job?
Yeah. I mean, my first real job. I mean, it lasted any time. I was there 1.5 years, I guess. Then depression hit, and they went out of business too, you know. So there wasn't any jobs around. We helped Dad there on the farm. And then finally, Ethel's, they were in Winchester, Indiana. He was glass guard. Well, in other words, his job was setting the machines up in molds, different types of grass and the feeders. They had a whole crew that did that. I mean, once they got the order filled, there's certain things that were gonna, like bottles they were making, and they wanted to say, they had about 12 machines in there.
For different size bottles?
Well, no, they changed the molds. And then they had to change, you had a number come out with hot with glass. You had a big tank. You understand a big tank about a half an acre?
A molten glass.
Yeah. And then you had feeder bands come out. And then that was time. It went down to the mold. And the mold would swing around and close up, swing around, and the plunger come down and set it out, and you have a bottle, whatever he's making.
Mm-hmm.
There's molds, as soon as it dropped in the molds, that would close up and the drop would right under the, you could see it go down, you know, in the mold. You had to keep those molds sulfur back of, I'll forget the name of the stuff. But that sulfur, you had to use, you couldn't use very much of it, but it kept it from sticking.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't your glass pull your glass apart from it. Then they went on a conveyor. It cooled up. The floor would be about that high. And the machine would do that. Sent on the conveyor. But when it got down to the end of this floor, you had to set it on the cooling. And they had an oven about that big, it run all the time. And they had girls a packing it to the other end. They give you, well, they put out about, those shoe bottles was the worst because those are small. You know, you'd be busy setting them out like that, and one of them would fall on your where you're standing and get your box on for it. It was a wooden box, I mean, a paper box used to stand on. You know,
Oh, yeah.
regular carton, yeah.
Like cardboard you flatten out?
Yeah, to flatten out. And that kept, the floor was hot. The first day I worked there, I had a pair of rubber soled shoes on, and they were that wide when I got I mean, oh no, you couldn't wear rubber in there. It's just too hot. And this old guy, where they heat treat this glass and make a certain glass that goes into spatial oven. Man, he had scarf. He used to roll over him all the time. I don't know how he stood it. But that's where the heat treats your glass. But what this regular glass, like bottles and stuff like that, go through a big conveyor, about 150 feet long, very slow, and the girls pack it to you as it comes out. See, after that, it's cool. Because if you don't, the glass all flies apart. You can't let it just set it out to do it. It's got to be go through that process.
Was that one of your favorite jobs?
Oh, no. Then I worked in Millville for the Lime and Stone Company, Standard Lime and Stone Company.
On the quarry?
No, I worked in the rock wool place, feeding cubulos.
What are they?
They give you a wheelbarrow and so much coke and so much dolomite, and then the cubulo was a regular furnace, you know, like a steel mill.
Oh.
And they had to, when they come out, the hot liquid, they had steam on it, blew it through this hole into this big room where they had a conveyor, and they took it out, and that's where they sacked it. But they got silicosis from it, gas in my throat, and I had to quit that job. And they took me off of it.
How long were you there?
Oh, about almost a year. We lived in Harper's Ferry, my mother and I. Yeah, that about killed me. I think that's what's wrong with my ticker now. Some of that cut through and hit a nerve. Well, he killed a lot of them. A lot of them. You know, this one doctor told me, I was lucky, he said, I opened up a guy, and he said, all his intestines had little blood pimples on it. You know, it cut right through that glass. You could see it in the sunlight flying. I don't know what they ever did about that, because they killed a lot of people there. And during the Depression, they could get not anybody.
This was still during the Depression?
Yeah. I forget what year it was. Still Depression. Then Maxie and I got enough money. Her dad moved out here, her mother. So we went out there and said, now I got a job. First job I had here was in a restaurant washing dishes. Next job was manager of the Penny Arcade. That was a cracker. You know, on a sparkle. Jesus. All those machines and
Was
everything.
that, which pier was that?
Ocean Park Pier. I had one guy working for me. I only had.
Wasn't the Santa Monica pier?
No, Santa Monica never had Ocean Park.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, okay.
I had one guy who was a wino work for me. And he hit you remember that gorilla? Had that woman, you know, the machine, you put a nickel in it. You go through all this, he'd hide his damn bottles in there. And the owner of the place came down, prowling through, see if everything was okay. And all their jugs fell out. I was long gone then.
Or you fired, oh, that was after you quit?
Well, he told me, he said, I will for you, just won't quit, just can't manage that guy. he fired that guy right off the bat. But I did, hell with him. I went to Douglas. They were hiring, so I went to Douglas. Went to Santa Monica Tech first for a couple of weeks, 3, and then they hired me out.
So what did you do originally at Douglas?
Beverly Dean.
Really?
And then I
What were you working on? What planes?
DC-3s. And the A-20s. Then I got the A-20s, I made lead man, and then I went on to assistant foreman.
In that job you worked at more than a year, right?
I worked 33 years
33?
at Douglas, yeah, until I retired, so that's the end of that.
So what were you working on toward the end?
DC-6. They just started DC-8.
You were on Saturn for a while too, weren't you?
Oh yeah, when they built the Saturn, we did some work on that, like we did the sealing and the testing and all that. Testing of the seafoods airtight, you know.
Well, when you were working on the airplanes, what were some of the things you had to do?
Oh, we had to test the fuselage. We'd put up to 4 pounds of PSI on it. And then we had to, a couple of us would get in, be in the fuselage, and we'd hear there's leaks, and we had stuff to plug them with, you know, seal them with. Until we couldn't hear, you could hear in there the air going out. It just sounded like thunder, you know. Everything was so still inside, in that air in there. Every little thing you could hear. So to do that, and then I worked on the tanks and fit all the fuel system, passenger units, gas lines, selector valves, fuel pumps. Well, I could, one of those C-54s, I could put every line in vent chamber in. I could do anything, the fuel system. That fuel system is pretty rough. They look at that pretty strong, but you run out of fuel and
You gotta go down, yeah.
well,
Were there you ever have any problems during that pressure testing, or?
the only time I've had any problem, I had this guy working with me, dumb bastard. He put the air on this tank, and after we took the air off, instead of pulling the plug out of the vent line, you know, so to get air when they pump the gas in, well, they pumped the gas in and tore one of the, before they know it, they did some damage on the inside. And they didn't for me, made me fix it myself with another guy. All it took was a few rivets, but they could have blown the whole wing up. Oh, that guy was dumb. I told him, I said, now be sure everything's out of there. You can't, when you're working with a guy, you got to do his part. You can't just follow him around.
Well, you had some interesting characters at Douglas that you met or worked with?
Oh, yeah, we had queers. We had the Liz's during the war. We had women come in every morning drunk, couldn't find the climb box.
Was that during the war? Or?
Yeah, and that was a mess during the war. Some of those women got to be pretty good at their jobs. Others didn't give a damn, you know. The only thing you had to do, so they cut it out, you gave one 86 on your port card, and the other one 90, then you get in a fight over that. And they'd have you up the office and be full of people. And there's women squawking about the grades.
you grade them. So they quit. We all got together and said, the hell with it, let's quit grading them. So that make peace in the whole plant. We quit grading, giving anybody a grade. The only thing we did do that in the office. You know. But before they'd see their grades, see what kind of work they were doing. You know, how
Yeah, sure.
no two workers alike. Oh, that was a good place to work in Douglas.
Well, did you have a favorite spot after work?
Yeah, Bean Cafe.
The Bean or the
Yeah.
Bean? Was it Bean or Bean?
Bean,
Bean.
yeah. Cafe, across the street. Of an evening, there was 35,000 people worked there. Evening, we'd go across there and have a bottle of beer at the table. The traffic would be pretty well cleared out by the time we could finish the bottle. You know, each one buy a quart, quart of beer. I think it was, I forget what the beer was, porter, 40 cents or 50, something like that, quart of beer. And we sat there drinking, all went home. And there's one guy, this one old gal, she was a wino, sold wine there too if you wanted to drink the damn stuff. Anyway, one evening, I don't know, she was sitting there and she kept going on her chair like that. And all at once, here comes a stream of water in the cement floor and it run down and run out the door. She peed on the floor. And old Dominic come out of the back of his dress to go out the door and he goes, he always whistled a little bit. And you looked at that and he brought it right back to her. There was a stream. He said, oh Jesus. And Ron got his mop and was bopping like hell. He was excited about Italian, you know. You know, oh Jesus, look at that. And then old Jimmy Little used to come in. And he had the shakes. And he'd finally get the glass down and he was steady. Until he got a glass of wine, he was all over the place.
Where you get the shakes?
Huh?
You get the shakes?
Oh, shakes, Jesus, every
From
morning.
drinking the wine?
Yeah. Oh, hell yes.
Not afterwards, huh? Not
When he got a,
not the day after. He'd get the shakes once he started drinking, huh?
no, he get the shakes after he drank. Next morning.
Next morning, okay.
Oh, yeah, he always had the shakes for it one morning. As soon as they get a glass of wine down, he was all right. Earl Burr, he was another guy. He used to go fishing with us. He always had a jug. This time, Earl didn't show up where he was supposed to meet. So we went looking for him, and he was sitting on the stream bank, and he threw his line in. Of course, it went down, and the water going like that. His bait was up on the shore, and he was sitting there with his feet fall in the jug and said, it'd been an hour sleep, and the damn bait wasn't even in the water. What a guy. I killed him. He got, they told him, and he had, his liver was just jelly. Don't drink no more. You might get over it. Well, it lasted about a month, I guess. And he got all the toot. And he coughed his liver right up. Boy, killed him right now. He drank that wine all the time. That would kill you. Especially that sweet wine. No, it will though. Wine will kill you. If you make a habit of drinking it, you know, get intoxicated on it all the time. Wine at dinner time or something like that don't hurt you. One or two wines, but you're steady with that stuff, it'll kill you. Man, they could. Well, I've seen winos that but they couldn't get off of it.
Well, did you like to hunt and fish then during your, during those days?
Oh, yeah.
Did you go with, weren't you a member of the club or something, Douglas Club?
Douglas Rod and Gun Club. You go hunting too. But you raise these ringnecks, and then the ringnecks, then you turn them loose. And then we're going through this grass, you had a farm over there, where they fly up. Oh, you know those guys would shoot them and from here that window closed and tear them all up. But the trouble was we'd put them all in the truck. It's a truck followed us. Well, when you got those guys, whoever it was, you'd get all the torn up and you'd leave yours get out before you shot even if you missed. Those guys were pigs, you know. They'd take all the good ones. Selfish. Oh, God. That's enough for the bag. I'm tired. See if that thing will come on.